All right. I haven't done a live video in a long time from my house. So here we go. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are fighting. CNN has a gossipy story about all the drama, and Buttigieg is in there. Everybody's starting to blame each other. This is usually what happens when things start going south. And we definitely have things going south now. Okay. So I'm going to give you all the hilarious details and the giant part of the story that they're missing. Of course. All right. First of all, live videos are brought to you by Too Strong Coffee. Now there's 2 pound bags. Wow, that's Justice Jolt. Okay. So that's the espresso blend. New blends out there, including Citrus and Justice Jolt. Go to twostrongcoffee.com/TYT. They give money to progressive causes, organic fair trade. You got it. All right, let's do Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. And I'll try to read out anybody who joins by hitting the join button below or does super chat. This is written by a bunch of gossipy reporters at CNN, including, anyway, we don't need to get into the reporters. It speaks for itself. I can't wait to tell you the part they're missing, but I'm going to quote a bunch of parts to you and explain to you what they actually mean. Near the beginning of the article, they say many in the vice president's circle fume that she's not being adequately prepared or positioned and instead is being sidelined. They're fuming. Now, look, they're leaking to CNN. Certainly Kamala Harris's aides are. That is a drastic move. In Washington, like playing ass slap football is like the thing that everybody does. Oh my God! Oh, I love Joe Biden. Oh, I love Kamala Harris. Oh, we all love Pete Buttigieg. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We all support each other. To leak like this to CNN, that is a massive development. That means Kamala Harris' team is super pissed at Biden. Okay, and they're saying that she feels sidelined. And so here's more quotes along those lines. And those around her remain wary of even hinting at future political ambitions, with Biden's team highly attuned to signs of disloyalty. You mean kind of like this article? And here, let me give you another quote from later in the article that shows you, yeah, but apparently it is signs of disloyalty. But I'll get back to that too, whether that makes a difference or not. But here's one. When Biden picked Harris as his running mate, he was essentially anointing her as the future of the Democratic Party. Now, many of those close to her feel like he's shirking his political duties to promote her and essentially setting her up to fail. Ooh. So that's a direct attack on Joe Biden. He's shirking his duties. I didn't know he had duties to the vice president, but apparently he does. If it's not clear enough already, I'll tell you, I am on neither side. They're both missing it, and their poll numbers are disastrous now. As we showed you in the main show on the Young Turks earlier tonight, Biden's popularity is down to 41% and sinking. Kamala Harris is even worse. I think one poll had her at 28%. That's a disaster. That's why you're seeing a full-scale panic here, where they're leaking quotes to CNN and kind of basically blaming each other for it. And when she says, her team, somebody on her team, her allies, say he's shirking her duties and screwing her over, that's throwing Biden under the bus. Do I care that she's throwing Biden under the bus? Like in Washington, that's the worst sin of all, not kissing the ass of other politicians. No, I don't care. And is she largely right about that? Yeah, it looks like they're throwing her under the bus. Biden made her do the "Don't Come" speech in Latin America, and it's terrible for her domestic progressive. Well, she don't have a progressive base, but Democratic base that has more Latinos in it, and he gave her the border as kind of an area she's supposed to concentrate on. That's a no-win. When he gave her the border, I was like, man, he is trying to make sure she does not run against them in 2024. That seems to be a huge part of this story. Do I care about that as a matter of policy? No, but they would both lose. They're not good politicians. Again, I'm going to tell you the thing that you should actually be looking for in a second. More quotes, though. Other politicians with their own presidential ambitions have started privately acknowledging that they are trying to figure out how to quietly lay the groundwork to run if and when Harris falters, as they think she might. So all these idiots in the White House, they're stabbing each other and politically and bleeding each other out. Like, oh, who's going to run in 2024? It doesn't matter. You're all going to lose. Okay, let me spit out an important part here, and then I'll give you more quotes. So, guys, what are they missing? They're missing the actual policy. All of this is about like, well, what about the optics? And oh, did he give me the right, topic, or didn't he? Did he support me enough, or did he support Buttigieg more? Oh my God, what would I do? Blah, blah, blah. How about you actually fight for something? Like, you know what? When your poll numbers would be way better if Kamala Harris, for example, said we should have lower drug prices. I don't know why it's not in the Build Back Better. I don't know why they took that. I think it's terrible. You know why that would help? It would help politically because that's what 9 out of 10 Americans believe in. Now, that would be a bigger scandal because they're like, oh, like betraying each other on personal stuff. That's high school gossip. Washington loves it and they think it's a big faux pas. But if you betray on policy, then everyone turns on you. Why? Because everyone has sold out to the drug companies. Biden sold out. Pelosi sold out. All the corporate Democrats have sold out. By the way, Kamala Harris has sold out. Pete Buttigieg just sold out. They're all out, right? So if Kamala Harris were to say, hey, by the way, we should actually lower drug prices, which is intensely popular, people would be 10 times more furious because they'd be like, you're ruining. We had a good game where we were pretending it was unpopular. We were blaming progressives, even though we were the ones who took it out. And now you come in and ruin it by trying to get credit for yourself. And you're going to cost us money. How dare you? But that is a position that is both popular and would help her politically and is great policy. If you actually stood for great policy, here's how she could have made a giant difference on $15 minimum wage. She is the head of the Senate. She could have overruled a parliamentarian. She could have actually fought for it. She could have gone to the Senate and say, no, I want $15 minimum wage in the COVID relief bill. She didn't do any of that. Zero. You know why? She doesn't care. She's worried about optics and, oh my God, did they do this right? And did they do that right? How do I look? How do I look? Oh my God, I'm not looking right, right? And meanwhile, Biden's like, how's she looking? How do I look? Buttigieg's like, how do I look? Oh, God damn it. If you actually stood for something, then your poll numbers wouldn't suck. If you actually fought for us, if you actually kept any of your promises, you wouldn't have to do this catty nonsense where you gossip about each other. So here, but I'll give you more of the cattiness because it's hilarious and they have no idea what they're doing. They think this stuff's important. I'm covering it because I'm amused, but you think the rest of the country is like, oh my God, I think Buttigieg is being unfair to Kamala Harris. Oh, I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. And nobody knows any of that stuff and nobody cares about any of that stuff. God, they're so clueless in Washington. All right. So they say aides to the vice president point to 150 engagements with members of the House and Senate since March, accounting for every conversation she had with lawmakers about the subject of infrastructure. So look, she's involved, right? How many times does that move anybody? Zero. What does that engagements mean? No, that means they did a fundraiser together. That means they did a photo op together. Who did she convince? If she convinced Manchin or Sinema to vote for paid family leave, I'd declare Kamala Harris champion of the world. I don't care about the past. All I care about is policy. That's all progressives care about. If she got $15 minimum wage passed, which was the bare minimum, we'd declare her champion of the world, right? Did she move a single vote? No, none. Because she's doing photo ops. She's not doing anything real. So, in fact, they give an example of no, she met with California Democrat Representative Nanette Barragan. And then Nanette Barragan says, oh, yeah, I mean, I talked to her and she argued that I should vote for Biden's bills. Ooh, okay, but did it make a difference? She said, they continue, but a person who discussed the decision with the Congresswoman said that while she appreciated hearing from the vice president, what really swayed her was the Congressional Progressive Caucus deciding to support the bill. So in other words, no. Her talking to Bergen didn't make any difference at all. And that was, remember, CNN's writing a giant piece about this. So Kamala Harris and her team wants to give them the best example of her making a difference. And on the one example where they actually cited someone she talked to about policy, even that person says, no, she didn't make the difference. Jayapal telling us to trust Biden made the difference. Okay, congratulations to Jayapal, by the way. That was a terrible idea and has been proven to be terrible. So here's more. Harris has helped to detect concerns from outside the Beltway. Who does she know outside the Beltway? What does she know about real Americans? You guys are a joke. And has attempted to give political cover to members worried about losing their seats after voting for the legislation. Look at the intrinsic bias in corporate media. If you vote for legislation that is popular, well, you'll obviously lose. So she has to give you political cover. Why would you lose? Why would they even have that assumption? Because of corporate donors. What they think, whatever corporate donors say, is what everybody else believes. So, and by the way, has she given effective political cover to others in the Democratic Party? About what? They're all bragging about voting for the infrastructure bill. What do they need political cover for? And how could Kamala Harris give it to them sitting at 28% approval? None of this makes any sense. High school. That's what this is, high school gossip crap. Okay. So more. Now we get into Buttigieg. Last month, White House aides, and by the way, there's a devastating part of this in a second too, where they basically turn to the issues of sexism and racism. Again, guys, if you join by hitting the join button below in the middle of the live video, or you do super chat. This is kind of a new system, but I will try to call you out if I see it. Okay. So last month, White House aides leapt to the defense of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who's being hammered with outrage by Fox News and Fox News host Tucker Carlson. Harris loyalists tell CNN they see in that yet another example of an unfair standard at play, wondering why she didn't get similar cover of any of the times she's been attacked by the right. Ooh, Jeroms. They're protecting Buttigieg more than Harris. By the way, part of the reason for that is Buttigieg is an even bigger sellout to the donor class. So the donor class loves him, and they signal to Biden, oh, yeah, support him. Harris, I don't know. And you're going to get to the donor class critical quote in a minute, too. And CNN explains Buttigieg, of course, isn't just a former 2020 Democratic primary rival. To many party insiders and suspicious Harris supporters, he's likely a challenger for the next open Democratic presidential nomination. So these two clowns are cutting each other on the inside. No one cares about policy at all. All they're worried about is, how are you going to do in 2024? How am I going to do in 2020? What's the optics? Who's doing the press conferences? Oh, my God, who's going to get the credit? Who's going to get the discredit? Children, none of them care about anything related to the rest of us. All right. So here's a reference that I was mentioning earlier. As some around Harris see it, the White House failed to come to her defense. That was especially galling since they had given her the unpleasant task on her first foreign trip of carrying the administration's harsh do not come policy, according to one source familiar with the workings of the office. So they give her a load of crap, which is kind of true, as I explained earlier, and then they don't defend her. Now, yeah, all right, well, why don't you ask for policy that you care about? That's because you don't care about any policy. We're going to get to that in a second. Look at this. But the White House says, oh, Jonathan Hall, thank you. Appreciate the super chat. They say, no. The Democratic Party came to help Kamala Harris. How? I love every part of this. Quote, the DNC hired a contract consultant in part to help with the Harris portfolio. Oh, the DNC hired a consultant. And they're going to help with her portfolio. More optics. More stupid consultants talking about how you look instead of what you do. That was their big help, but they say that didn't work out either. They didn't get along very well. Now, here comes race and gender, of course. They talk about the Harris's team brings up the undeniable structural issues of race and gender. The vice president is often on guard for those double standards herself, but the concern is high enough that as an informal network of outside advisors, many of whom are veterans of Hillary Clinton's campaigns, has come together to both point out inadvertent bias in Harris coverage. In other words, they brought in the Hillary Clinton team to call everyone sexist and racist. That ought to solve it. That'll make you really popular. Now, look, there's tons of things that the right wing does that is sexist and racist, and you should fight back and really aggressively against that. But they don't have any examples here. They just say they're supporting Buttigieg more than they're supporting me. That's not a great example of sexism and racism. And so they made fun of her having a French accent. I thought that was a really stupid thing that the right wing did. It didn't make any sense. She wasn't trying to do that in a way like where she was pretending to be French. Every part of that was nonsense, but that also wasn't sexist or racist. No, they brought in consultants and the Hillary Clinton team to call everyone sexist and racist to try to gain political advantage for her. Okay, so that's how this game is played. And then top aides say privately that they have come to regret that Harris didn't ask for more well-defined assignments coming into the administration. Yeah, you see, if you cared, if I was the vice president, I mean, laughable thought, but the idea is I would go and I would say to the president, look, I really want $15 minimum wage. I really want lower drug prices. I really want paid family leave. You can't say 28 things, but I would pick 2 or 3 things. And I would say, how do I make that happen? How do I help you make that happen? And I would come up with a plan. She has no plan. That's because she doesn't care. And now she's crying publicly about, why won't they help me with optics? And subtly hinting that they're racist and sexist for not helping her with her optics and her political career. Meanwhile, admitting she never asked for any policy positions. She never asked to fight for anything because she doesn't want to fight for anything. She never meant any of it. So I can go on and on here, but there are other people saying that Biden is prioritizing his own agenda. Of course. Oh, and the last thing I promise you, this is important. They say when she went to an event in New York, several politicians and donors were left off the invitation list. You do not leave donors off the invitation list. So here comes a catty quote from one of them, or a summary by CNN of them. Instead of feeling connected to Harris in her historic first year in office, they feel cut off. If the donors feel cut off and they're not constantly telling you what to do, well, Buttigieg will be favored and you will be disfavored. And then there'll be giant articles about how you're failing. That's how this game is played in Washington. The whole thing is sick, and it doesn't have anything to do with any of you guys. In all of that, there was, from the reporters, from the politicians, from none of them, was there, hey, what are they working on? And is that really important? And if they really delivered for Americans, maybe that would improve their numbers. They never even thought about it. They're all a joke. It's all a game. It's all acting. They don't mean it. And the whole country's onto them, both Republicans and Democrats. They're all fakes and frauds. And so now when we point it out, they're like, oh, shh. Remember, if all the media does propaganda for us, we can trick everybody. No deal. Never been a deal. That's why they hate us. The Democratic leadership hates us. The Republicans hate us because we call them out on their BS. Okay. I'm telling you right now, they don't care about you at all. All they care about is the donors and how they look. And this article is a perfect example of that. Jay Exarius, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. It is a little discouraging, but we just got to fight forward. There's no way around it. Fight for policy, fight for people. I appreciate it. We got to go. Old School's coming up next, so actually stay right here and twostrongcoffee.com/TYT. It's absolutely delicious, and we thank them for sponsoring this. All right, guys. See you.